It's I can do 10, 9, 8. I can, yeah, like 10, 9, 8, 1. You can hear me, but you don't want to send me to the TriCaster. I can take it out of the TriCaster, and they only hear themselves from here, so that they start.
We are using this platform to help restart and generate new conversations about how to revive our sector in the face of the pandemic, to forge a way forward, strategize and come up with a strategy of how do we reposition the Pearl of Africa. We've had over 250 meetings held between our local tour operators and potential buyers from the international market space. We've had over four presentations of keynote speeches. We've had discussions and presentations about MICE. MICE is meetings, intensives, conferences, and events. So we used this platform to generate conversations of how we can recover MICE as a business. How do we get more business travelers into Uganda? How can we revive MICE domestically? The domestic meetings that used to happen, how do we get more meetings happening in Uganda? How do we generate more MICE arrivals into the country? Even in the face of COVID, Uganda is currently ranked as the 6th preferred destination for MICE. So we are looking for ways of reinventing our destination to even become the #1 preferred destination for MICE tourism. Over 2,500 participants. There was a lot of meetings, there's a lot of engagements and a lot of interesting discussions for people that are already in the sector, but also for potential investors into Uganda's tourism.
Thank you so much. Good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. You're most welcome. We're coming to you live from Kampala Sheraton Hotel, and I wish to welcome you all to the 6th edition of the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo. This time we're holding it live and virtual in the sense, given the circumstances that we are under the COVID pandemic. We've had an exciting 2 days preceding this final day of Poate. We started on the 27th. Yesterday was quite another successful and exciting day. And today promises to be yet another very exciting event as we discuss some of the very topical issues affecting tourism and directing the way we're moving forward in as far as tourism is concerned. The theme we are running with this year is recover, reboot, and recount, and that fits in very well with the circumstances that we are faced with of the COVID pandemic. To enrich ourselves in this discussion, we have a very interesting panel. My name's Liazi Vivian. I work with the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities as Assistant Commissioner in charge of tourism, and I'm excited to be with you this morning. We do have Madame Claire Mugabi from the Uganda Tourism Board working as the marketing manager at the Uganda Tourism Board, and we're excited to see her. She's well attired in a nice busuti. Madame Claire, say hello to our viewers.
Hello and good morning, everyone.
Thank you so much. We expect a lot of discussion, especially in the emerging trends and where we're moving in as far as tourism is concerned, given the circumstances that we do have. I want also to introduce Mr. Alan Senyondwa, who is the manager COVID-19 Recovery and Resilience Program at the Private Sector Foundation, Uganda. You can see well attired in a kanzu, reconnecting with our cultural norms. Alan, you're welcome. Please say hello to our viewers.
Hello and a wonderful good morning to all our viewers. Thank you for inviting us here.
Thank you so much. Alan will be taking us through the mechanics of how the private sector is being supported to recover and also move ahead of the COVID pandemic once put aside. Later on, we'll be having somebody join us from the Zoom, and that will be from UNDP. Mr. Nicholas Burunde will be joining us, and I will be introducing him at that very time. As I said, much of the discussion today is really focused on emerging trends and opportunities and incentives for the post-COVID pandemic. We want to start this discussion with looking at what government policies and incentives to reboot the tourism sector in the post-COVID era are available. I want to enlighten and draw this discussion with a small presentation regarding that very topic. Those of you, I think it's no longer news that COVID has really devastated and impacted not only Uganda but the whole world, so to speak. It is probably the worst health pandemic we've had in living memory, and unfortunately we've not yet seen an end to this problem. As we speak, the world, from the official statistics, over 149 million people have been affected or infected by the COVID virus, and registered a death of 3.15 million people. This is extremely sad. In Uganda, we've registered about 40,734 people infected by COVID. Of course, a number of recoveries, but unfortunately, we've lost about 334 people recorded officially as lost to COVID. The worst situation that is emerging worldwide now is India, and our prayers seriously go to our Indian brothers who have an infection rate officially recorded at 18 million, and over 2,001,000 people succumbing to this problem. So really the problem we are talking about is big. It has really drawn the whole country to a halt. In terms of impact, the tourism economy probably is one of the worst hit industries in as far as tourism, in as far as this pandemic is concerned. There has been a closure of most of the destinations. There has been a closure of transportation. There has been a loss of jobs. There has been a loss of visitor confidence. People are not cagey when it comes to travel. Uganda has had it worse. We've had also the rising water levels, and many of the tourist attractions around the waterfronts have been terribly affected by COVID. In terms of numbers, when you look at how we were performing in 2019 at about 1.6 million visitors, we dropped to about 450,000 visitors coming in 2020. We hope for a better recovery in 2021, but you can see the trend that we are talking about is serious. There have been a number of initiatives undertaken by government, and we want to thank the leadership, especially of the president and the entire government, in curbing this problem, in confronting this problem, and that explains the relatively low numbers that we've had in Uganda, and hopefully will come through this problem a little better than many of our neighbors. A COVID response team was set up, and this has driven the emergency response program effectively, and we want to thank government for that effort. Of course, initial measures relating to the closure of borders, quarantining people who are returning into the country, boosting our healthcare program, and a very robust communication effort has helped in addressing this problem, getting people to understand the intensity of the problem, and responding to it effectively. Government also tried to mobilize resources by putting up a COVID response fund. A number of people from the private sector did support this call to support this emergency, but also government reprioritized many of its expenditure frameworks to ensure that we focus and address this problem. In terms of production, some of the industries that could repurpose themselves, especially liquor industries, were repurposed to produce sanitizers. Those in the garment industry were repurposed to produce masks. And this has helped the sustenance of the economy in this very difficult period. Government has also focused on the building of key infrastructure. The road networks have continued improving despite the shutdowns that we've experienced. The communication network has continued improving, and this is all geared towards supporting the industry, especially when we overcome the COVID problem that we all face right now. I want to state a few of the objectives that we've focused on in as far as addressing this COVID pandemic is concerned. One is the restoration of investor and visitor confidence. Many people are now jittery when it comes to travel, and part of the efforts, especially like this one that we are undertaking now of Poate, is to restore that investor confidence. Tell the people that it is safe to travel again. It is safe to come to the country when you're ready, and Uganda is repositioning itself for that particular purpose. We're supporting the tourism businesses that have been terribly affected by the COVID pandemic, and I will be elaborating some of the initiatives that have been undertaken to make this possible. The promotion of domestic tourism is now our key focus. Now that the entire world is almost at a standstill and is not moving, we are drawing back to say, why don't we travel around our country? Why don't we experience the beauty that we've consistently promoted to the rest of the world and appreciate it ourselves? Worldwide, about 75% of the core of tourism is domestic tourism. Incidentally, in Uganda, the focus wasn't so much on domestic tourism, and thankfully this time, the focus is greatly on domestic tourism. I'm sure Madame Claire will be elaborating a little more on what strategies we put in place to make that possible. But we're also passing on clear information to the people, not to fear, to know exactly what needs to be done in as far as travel, safe travel is concerned. And in this respect, we've also developed the SOPs to guide safe travel, and a lot more information in that regard will be discussed in this particular session. Strengthening cooperation within and outside the country, especially with our Eastern neighbors, with our East African neighbors, is going to be one of the focus points in getting this recovery back on track. And of course, building more resilience. Those are some of the focus areas that we are pushing. And in terms of the policy interventions and incentives, the focus has been on the following. One, market development framework. Market development, and in this we are focusing a lot on market intelligence, making sure that we know what the customer, the new normal customer, actually wants. And here we've worked a lot with the destination management companies that we've contracted to tell us exactly what the feel in the source markets is, and we reposition ourselves in order to address that particular market. We are also focusing on digital marketing, and this is a clear testimony of the focus that we are taking. This year's Poate has been a virtual event, and the outreach from the statistics is quite interesting. We've managed to reach out to even more people virtually, thanks to the innovation and digital innovations that we are having. So that I think is a positive policy trend that we are taking in recovering this market. For this particular Poate, we've made sure that everybody comes on board free of charge so that the interaction and engagement can move ahead. Skills development is another area of focus that we are putting our efforts on. Still, the development of the Hotel and Tourism Training Institute in Jinja, which is supposed to be a center of excellence, is an effort that we are continuing with. The completion is almost done, so that more and more students can be trained to be high-grade service providers in the tourism industry. But in the meantime, especially with the Uganda Tourism Board, we are moving around the country and training in-service staff to improve on their quality of skills, so that when we are ready to start receiving our visitors again, the quality of service is at par and very competitive. Biodiversity conservation is another key area that we are focusing on. We've had a few incidences, not good incidences, within the national parks because of human-wildlife conflict. We've lost a few lions. But again, the resilience, the efforts that we are putting in tracking down these people, in sensitizing the local communities, making sure that the humans and the wildlife live at par is an effort that we are taking. We are controlling poaching and the invasive species that we are destroying our protected areas. These are efforts we are pushing ahead in this period of time. Of course, I did mention that many of our business enterprises have been really affected during this period in time, and government has come out to support in one way or another using fiscal incentives. You all know, or I need to tell you, that government allowed a VAT relief, a zero VAT rating, to all hospitality enterprises in the country, and that cushions them from the severe financial problems that they've been incurring. Tax rescheduling, especially with income tax, this has been done again to conserve the little resources that they do have to move ahead. I want also to talk about the monetary support that has been offered, loan rescheduling programs. Many of the enterprises that had loan stress have been able to renegotiate their loans and receive that bit of relief in terms of operations. The same facility with EU and UDB was concluded, and some enterprises have benefited or have started benefiting from this facility in order to, finance labor retention, finance operations, to take them through this very difficult period. From a product point of view, especially with our key resource, which is the wildlife, managed by the Uganda Wildlife Authority, we've afforded a concession rate, half of all the fees, tariffs, moving into the national parks have been imposed. So it is cheaper to go and experience these products, and I think it is an incentive to all visitors. We call upon everybody, not only the Ugandans, but also the international community, to take advantage of that opportunity that we have. It is now cheap, 150,000 shillings for a Ugandan to go and enjoy the gorilla tracking experience. $350 about there for the foreign national to go for the gorilla tracking experience. It used to be double the cost. So again, these are initiatives undertaken to support people to recover, to go back into tourism. But we've also supported the investors by giving them a grace period on the concession rates or ground rent. So all the national park, lodges located within the national parks are not paying ground rate for this period of time, again to cushion them and support them in this very difficult time. We've done the same for those who are operating the boats, and these are all initiatives geared towards that. Finally, I want to raise the issue of awareness. Awareness is at the core of mindset change. Awareness is at the core of behavioral change. These days, in any responsible environment, you'll find people putting on masks. In any responsible environment, you won't find people shaking hands. They will elbow or fist pump. And these behavioral changes have come consistently because of, the reminders, the communication programs that have been put up by government. We've trained the industry. We're moving around the country. Uganda Tourism Board, currently the team, is moving all over the country, training the industry on COVID preparedness. We prepared and customized the standard operating procedures for the hospitality industry, and are moving around the enterprises, ensuring that people understand them, but also comply with these with these standard operating procedures, and indeed they have helped in ensuring that this problem is controlled, especially in this time. I want also to say that the good news now is that the vaccines are available, and the government is providing them for free. And of course, we need to encourage everybody to go and get vaccinated. Good news is that in the tourism industry have been classified as frontline workers. So the game rangers, the guides can, at this very moment, as we prioritize, go and take their jobs. Of course, those above 50 and those with predisposing ailments are also part of this. Briefly, that is what I may have to put across right now in as far as the policies and initiatives, incentives that government has put in place in addressing the COVID pandemic. I want at this point now to take you to the private sector foundation that is supporting the industry. What are we doing exactly in supporting the industry, additionally to what I've elaborated in getting this moving forward? Alan, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Viewers and listeners, you're all welcome to the 6th Pearl of Africa Tourism Exhibition. Indeed, the Pearl of Africa. I would also want to commend and thank the organizers for a theme well thought through: recover, reboot, reconnect. I somehow thought that the program which I had may have lent a few words to this theme, which is a wonderful program. The program I had is called the Covid-19 Economic Recovery and Resilience Response Program at the Private Sector Foundation, in which we partner with the MasterCard Foundation to help us in the recovery process. Well, I bring greetings from the Private Sector Foundation, the chairman of the board, and the board, and the management, the executive director and his management. Well, the private sector, and how are we helping the industry? May I begin by saying that the Private Sector Foundation is the apex body of the private sector in the nation. And therefore, it is our mandate to ensure that the private sector thrives. That is the core mandate. And the vision is very simple. We're the lead partners in private sector development. And being a lead partner, each of the 12 sectors which are part of the private sector are crucial to the development of this country. You've just given a very good preamble by saying that of the 12 sectors which are part of the private sector foundation, one which is most hard hit, there were two, but one has now been put on the path of recovery, that is education. One which is left still is the tourism and hospitality sector. It has been hard hit. We all see it. We all experience it. For many who may not be aware, the bars are still closed. The hotels are running at 1 or 2%. Our tour guides are really not guiding a lot of people. The sector is really being hard hit. Question at hand, what are we as the Private Sector Foundation doing? Allow me to inform our viewers that the Private Sector Foundation has already been doing a lot, working together, collaborating with government on the one side, with our partners, development partners, and also with the private sector itself. Through the Competitive Enterprise Development Program, a World Bank program, you have already mentioned it, we have been a coordinator to try and ensure that the sector, the tourism sector, is well coordinated to prepare ourselves for tourism. However, that program has been running for some time, and you well mentioned it. We jumped from 600,000 tourists in about 2010 to about 1.6 actually. That is a huge jump. 1 million additional tourists is not few. And then came COVID. So all the efforts were not thrown down the drain, but were kind of incapacitated and put on hold. And so you have mentioned it correctly. We have now jumped all the way from 1.6 million tourists to 40,000. So what do we do? We are not sleeping. You've already mentioned it very well, what the government is doing. I could sing from the same page. I am very privileged to say that whatever you've put in place is on the same page with what the private sector has put in place. So, with our partners, the MasterCard Foundation, a program was put in place to help the whole entire economy develop, especially from the private sector angle, from the effects of COVID. So that program is a very interesting one. We work with both the public sector, that is government, and the private sector. So at the very beginning was, people are going to die. So what did we do? With our partners, we ensured we supported the government to procure testing kits for COVID. At the beginning, it was very tough, but we went ahead and supported government with 45,000 test kits for COVID. At least let the people know whether they are positive or negative. And we also supported by providing 6 COVID-19 PCR machines to help and enable the testing of COVID. But as you may all know, that is not enough. So at that point, we remember we didn't have the beds, the Nambole was being set up and all these things. So we also went ahead and supported by procuring 1,000 beds. 1,000 beds which are ready for ICU just in case. Not the ICU, proper ICU beds, but 1,000 ICU ready beds. And these 1,000 beds, medical beds, came with the 1,000 medical mattresses on them. And yes, with the linen, which is supposed to help. And these we have put in 43 regional and referral hospitals. We have also procured a number of medical suits for our frontline workers, over 100,000 medical masks, face shields, gun thermometers, all in the help to fight this pandemic. But then came the food and the PPEs. And then we work together again with our institute, the National Bureau of Standards in this country. And so we are supporting the National Bureau of Standards in the area of testing for aflatoxins, food, and then in the area of standards for PPEs. You have just mentioned the masks and all these sanitizer, which is just right there in front of you. This, the UNBS, we are working together to ensure that we can test faster, find the standards faster, so that our products can be rolled out there and have no effect on our colleagues and fellow citizens. But again, what about the private sector? The health sector was at the front line of this. And so we are working together with our partner, Uganda Healthcare Federation, to ensure that we digitize their systems so that they are at the front line of knowing who is suffering what, and the quality is maintained. So Uganda Healthcare Federation, we are working with it. Now you're asking me, okay, what about the private sector proper? We are supporting 200 MSMEs directly to recover from the effects of the pandemic. First of all, recover, but importantly, be resilient. If another wave came, which is right now knocking at the doors through Kenya, whatever variants they are called, we are on our own toes working together with the Ministry of Health, who is keeping us informed of what is happening. We are on our toes waiting to see that we are ready. The good thing, you have already mentioned it, I think our government has done a good job when it comes to COVID-19 and the awareness. We are all aware. No wonder we are sitting the way we are sitting, socially distanced. And yes, we are at the verge of trying to put on the masks, but because of the social distancing, it's good enough. So work has been done in that area. And so we are supporting these 200 MSMEs. But we're not stopping there. Even at the private sector foundation, we are revamping ourselves. We are going digital. We are putting up an ERP system to ensure that our members are well served. You don't have to come all the time to private sector foundation. You just have to send in a digital complaint, a digital something, and we will be able to do that. But we're not stopping there. We are going to connect the businesses amongst themselves. I have heard you talking about the B2C and C2B, and now for us, we are more into the B2B. We want to connect the whole entire value chain of all the 12 sectors. We want you to know where is your matoke coming from. If someone has matoke in Tungamo, so many tons, how do they get to Arua? If you want to go on tour, who is the tour guide? Who is the tour operator? Which hotel am I going to? The whole repertoire. Which national park will I visit? Is it a national park, or should I visit a national monument? What should we do? We are trying to push in that direction. Lastly, in the top area, we are working again with government, but this time through the top authority of planning in this country, the National Planning Authority, to ensure that we connect with the Ministry of Finance, the Department of the Private Sector Development Unit, to ensure that we develop a national strategy for private sector development. A proper one, costed, budgeted, and be able to be implemented by our partners in government and the private sector. Now, that is the general. Have we done anything for the tourist sector specifically? Yes. What are we doing? We are working with the apex body of the tourism and hospitality sector. The issues you have mentioned of market development, alternative routes to the market, the supply chain, institutional capacity, skills. These are actually the 6 areas in which we are working with the Uganda Tourism Association, who is working with the 8 subsector associations of Ukota, Ugata, of Tugata, and all the other associations with their members to ensure that the small slot we had put in place for the tourism sector is expanded. From supporting just 40 companies in the tourism sector, we are now going to support over 1,000 of them directly. And we will, I think I've spent some time, but in the next session, I'll be able to give you the details of what the individual support to the tourism sector is from the private sector foundation. Thank you.
Alan, thank you so much. I think you've given us a flair of what the private sector is doing, especially from the point of the apex body, the Private Sector Foundation. And we want to thank that the private sector and the government are in sync. They are not running a divergence. Tourism being a private sector-led industry or driven industry, it is very essential that we are speaking the same language, especially in the height of this COVID problem. I want now to move to Madame Claire. Madame Claire, the new normal, these days we talk about the new normal. Things are likely not to be the same as they were at the time. And maybe you can give us an insight on what the new trends are and where we should be capitalizing. Where should the private sector be looking in as far as tourism growth is concerned? Thank you.
Thank you, Director Aliazi. Claire Mugabe is my name, and I come with greetings from the Uganda Tourism Board, where I am the marketing manager. Speaking about emerging trends and opportunities in the sector, I would like to start by saying that COVID has caused a total paradigm change in our shift in our industry. It has totally revolutionized the way the entire destination marketing mix. We are doing things totally differently. It has changed the entire destination marketing mix from our product offering. We've had to revise the entire product proposition in the face of the pandemic in order to change the changed tastes and preferences of our potential travelers, to the way we package and present our product to the potential traveler, to our pricing, to the media and communication channels that we use to take the product to the market and create awareness about it. So there's been a total shift in the way the way we do business entirely as a sector. Speaking about the different emerging trends and opportunities, I'll start with the biggest trend, which is around safe travel, like you mentioned. Safety has always been one of the parameters on the competitive index of destinations. It has always been scored and one of the key areas of consideration by potential travelers before they go to any destination. However, in the face of the pandemic, it has now come to the fore, and it is the number one point of consideration by any visitor if they are to go to any country, especially long-haul destinations like the Pearl of Africa. It is no longer enough for Uganda to boast about being the most beautiful country in the world. It is imperative that we are equally a safe destination. And I am proud to note that in the region, we are currently the number one country in terms of safety, thanks to the president for the aggressive campaign he's rolled out around containing the pandemic. We are currently positioned as the safest destination in the region. This gives you a lot of competitive advantage because, like I said, this is the number one point of consideration before anyone travels to any destination. So all destinations are supposed to reinvent themselves and innovate around positioning themselves as safe destinations. And we've seen a lot of emerging trends around safe positioning. One of them has been about rolling out safety and hygiene protocols by travel destinations. For example, for us as the Tourism Board, under the purview of our mandate of quality assurance management, we rolled out, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, we rolled out SOPs across the different tourism destination touchpoints, from the airport to the national parks to the hotels. We rolled out SOPs that are going to ensure and guarantee the safety of our visitors as they come into our country. We have made sure that we acquire right from the onset that we are accredited as a safe destination for travel, which has really enhanced our positioning currently. We have stamps and endorsements by recognized global health institutions like the World Travel and Tourism Council, World Health Organization. So it is very important for all destinations to acquire these stamps so that they restore visitor confidence to come to those countries, because people will be assured of safety when they visit those countries. So as a destination, we've managed to acquire those stamps. We have managed to roll out SOPs that are going to continue to be adhered to, and as the Tourism Board, we've continued to inspect all our sector players to ensure that they operate in conformity with these SOPs as a means of ensuring the safety of our visitors, because it is paramount and the safety of our visitors comes first in the face of the pandemic. We've seen another emerging trend of instant COVID testing across the different tourism touchpoints, including the airports, the airlines, border points, hotels, name it. And this is intended, again, to ensure and guarantee the safety of the people as they travel around the different countries. We've seen introduction of touchless services and temperature scanners across the different tourism infrastructures, even here at Sheraton where we are. Before even you get to the gate or get into the hotel, you're supposed to be checked. And the hotel and the other facilities are innovating further to make sure that they have touchless services across the service chain. So there is a lot of innovation in that space, and as destinations, you either adapt to the current trends or perish. There is introduction of face technology at the airports and different touch points so that there is minimal human interaction. So all these things have been introduced, and these are all new emerging trends that are going to continue to be rolled over even after post-COVID, to ensure that there is minimized human interaction as a means of guaranteeing the safety of the different people. So there is a lot of innovation around safe travel, and more than ever, like I mentioned, it's not possible to thrive in tourism if you do not position as a safe destination, if you do not position your business as a tour operator out there or a facility owner, if you do not take the time to invent and innovate around positioning as a safe destination, ensuring that you consistently adhere to SOPs, because there is people that adhere to SOPs for 1 week, for 2 weeks. Consistency is the key behind, the main point here. You have to be consistent in your pursuit of the safety of your visitors. The next trend is around digital trends. Because of the sudden increase in people being indoors, which is a major lifestyle change, many consumers are spending a lot of time online. So this has really caused a major shift in the destination marketing mix, because now you have to take your product to the potential traveler online. They seek for information about Destination Uganda online. Booking is now done online. Everything is done online. So like I mentioned, COVID has really revolutionized our entire marketing mix from the product. As destinations, many destinations are working on introducing virtual reality so that people immerse themselves in experiences even before they travel to Uganda. Destinations like Uganda have to work on enhancing their digital presence because, like I mentioned, everyone right now is online. As we speak, platforms like TikTok have over 1.5 billion users globally. So as a destination, if you're not on TikTok, you're nowhere. Instagram has over 500 million users daily. As a destination, if you don't have enhanced daily presence on Instagram, you will not compete favorably post-COVID. So as destinations, we are continuously enhancing our digital presence. We are on a daily putting out visual content that showcases Uganda, showcases our tourism proposition, showcases, most importantly, what we've done to prepare ourselves to receive visitors in the face of the pandemic. Digitally also, there is a great growing trend for interactive marketing. Travelers no longer want to be bombarded with information. They want to be engaged because they are online. So destinations are continuously innovating around interactive marketing so that there is increased engagement so that you hear from the potential traveler. Personalized experiences have also come to the core and to the fore. People no longer want to go for generic experiences. They want to feel that you as a destination have taken the time to personalize and understand their personal needs and customize the experience to their personal needs. I wanted to highlight a few of the emerging trends, additional emerging trends and digital trends. One of them has been, like I mentioned already, there's been a lot of automation and artificial intelligence, which have become a reality now in our industry. Increasingly, there is a lot of use of robots at hotels, at airports. Of course, we don't have that level of technology here in Uganda, but of course it has to come if you're to remain relevant and competitive in tourism. There is automation of travel bookings. People are now booking online for their trips. Adoption of artificial intelligence, like use of chatbots by travel companies for customer service. I mentioned already the growing trend of people wanting to experience things without really experiencing them physically, which is use of virtual reality to stimulate all kinds of things via virtual reality, e.g. hotels. Many hotel chains across the world are using virtual reality. Many travel destinations are using virtual reality, so that even before someone comes to Uganda for gorilla tracking experience at Windy, they can immerse themselves in that experience remotely from wherever they are to see what exactly gorilla tracking is all about. There has been introduction of wearable devices, again, as a means of minimizing human interaction. This has been adopted, especially in the Western world, at destinations like the Walt Disney, where they have wristbands. Such innovations are going to come even to destinations like Uganda, which will maybe eliminate some operators like the tour guides, so that you use technology and wearable devices that can help people to tour around the country as opposed to using human beings. So there's quite a lot of innovation, and like I said, it has led to a total digitalization of our entire marketing mix, from the product to the way we price our products, the way we take our products to the market, the channels that we use to reach the potential traveler, and even in terms of sharing information and getting reviews, everything is now being done digitally. And as Uganda, we've also taken the time to enhance our digital presence through having different digital platforms and assets where we continuously engage potential travelers to Uganda. The third area that I wanted to highlight is emerging opportunities around domestic tourism promotion. As Director Aliazi mentioned, for sustenance, we as the tourism board and as a sector, we have gone ahead to aggressively pursue domestic tourism by rolling out back-to-back domestic tourism promotional campaigns. There is one we used to call Tulambule that we used to run. That has been followed by another one dubbed Take on the Pearl that has been running from around September last year. All these are intended to inculcate a culture of domestic travel amongst our citizens. And we needed to cause a mindset change, because before you would find so many Ugandans going to Kenya, so many Ugandans going to Dubai, going to Mombasa, because in their minds, they perceived it that for them to be considered as tourists, they should be traveling outside of Uganda. So we've run back-to-back campaigns to change, to cause a mindset shift, and also, so that we make it, a lifestyle for Ugandans to travel around the country. And our goal is to try and inculcate that behavior, especially amongst the youngsters, because our population is mainly 75% young people. So we are trying to run campaigns also targeting the young people, so that we inculcate culture of travel, especially within Uganda, amongst the youngsters, because domestic tourism has become the go-to market in the face of the pandemic. As we speak now, India is facing a massive outbreak of COVID, another third wave. Right now, Canada is in a total lockdown. So there is a lot of uncertainty still around international travel, even as the vaccine is being rolled out. So still right now, as we trade, the most certain market segment to continue pursuing is the domestic market. And we are putting a lot of efforts around aggressive pursuing of the domestic market. Another trend emerging is that in the face of the pandemic, many economies have been faced with a lot of economic challenges. Many of them have gone back into recession. Many people have had salary cuts. Many people have lost their jobs. So it is more important than ever for destinations to position as affordable destinations. A bigger segment of the people are looking for discounts, they're looking for promotions, because their incomes have dwindled and their propensity to spend on luxury like travel has really dwindled. So it's very important that as a destination, as Uganda, we position ourselves as an affordable destination by making sure that much as our experiences are unmatched and unique, they are affordable for an average person from everywhere in the world to come and partake in those activities. Another emerging trend is around travel insurance. COVID has caused a lot of uncertainty in the sector, with unpredictable hotel close downs, flight cancellations. So before anyone travels to any destination, they have to make sure that part of the package that they are being offered by a tour operator is travel insurance. No one goes anywhere anymore without travel insurance. So it's imperative that all our sector players put this into consideration, that as they develop itineraries and packages for their potential visitors, they factor in the aspect of travel insurance, because more than ever, it is very important for visitors, and it has become one of the key points of consideration before they book travel to any destination. Flexible booking is also another element in line with the uncertainty that has come with COVID. Destinations, including ours, have put in place flexible booking policies because there is a lot of uncertainty. So people want to be sure that when there is any uncertainty, they will not lose their money. You're flexible enough and understanding enough to ensure that they can always postpone their trip to a more preferred time. Again, in line with the shift that has been caused by COVID, there is a lot of demand right now for open spaces and outdoor activities that encourage distancing between people. And as Uganda, I am happy to note that we have a lot of those experiences, and we've gone ahead to innovate and create a lot of product diversity around activities that can be done outdoor that allow for people to freely interact in big spaces. People now want to go for activities like camping, things like hiking, golfing, outdoor activities that, do not call for people to get congested in one area as a means of continuing to mitigate themselves against the pandemic. Another emerging trend is that because of the pandemic, we are going to see increased shrink in group travel. We are going to see increased demand in what we call free independent travelers. People no longer want to travel in groups because it is not safe. So as a destination, we need to work with our different sector players to continue to innovate around coming up with packages for free independent travelers or very small groups, maybe like families, so that people continue to travel safely. There is going to be an increase in backpacking because, like I mentioned, there are recent reports by Sentimental predict that backpackers are going to be the first people to return to traveling because this group mainly consists of young people that have not really been hit so hard by the pandemic. It consists of single individuals. It consists of budget-conscious people that are going to be able to take advantage of the highly discounted travel packages out there. And like I mentioned, because we've had a huge hit economically, globally, people are now looking for more and more affordable travels across the world. So the more you put out packages that are affordable, the more competitive you position yourselves as a destination and as sector players. There is a new trend called workations, which is just a coined word to mean a working vacation. Booking.com predicts that this is going to be the new travel trend, and travelers are going to change. For over a year, many people have been working from their homes, and many people are now yearning to start working away from home. So there is increased demand. Actually, over 37% of travelers have booked a place to stay and work away from home. So even us as a destination, we need to start to itinerize in that space, come up with workation itineraries that can allow for people to come and work away from their homes, from wherever they live. The other point is about the return of travel agents. Before COVID, people had started to book travel directly, eliminating the middleman. But because of the risk right now, because of the pandemic, people are going back to the basics of booking. They are returning to the use of travel agents so that they feel that most of the uncertainty is catered for by the travel agent. Also, the travel agent is charged with the role of ensuring that they do due diligence on the destination before they recommend it to their traveler. They have to make sure that the destination is safe for travel, get a lot of information so that the traveler feels cushioned against most of the eventualities that could come with their trip. The other emerging trend that I can talk about is the experience economy. People no longer want to have conventional generic experiences. Everyone is looking for value for money through customized, unique experiences, which I am happy to say that us as the Pearl of Africa have those in abundance. We have unmatched experiences like gorilla tracking. There is only one source of the Nile which you can find in the world, which is in Uganda. So people are looking for personalized experiences away from the generic itineraries. Travelers are most likely to return to destinations where they feel that they got a customized experience that was tailored to their travel needs. So as destinations have to continuously invest in market research to identify the ever-changing needs in tastes and preferences of the potential travelers, where are the needs shifting to? Where would people want to go? What sort of experiences are people yearning to? So as the tourism board, we've gone ahead to invest in auditing our entire product offering, assess its competitiveness so that we come up with a strategy for diversifying it and also enhancing it to make sure that it remains competitive in the new marketplace, which is the new normal. People are looking for authentic local experiences. Visitors no longer want to come to destinations where they feel isolated from the realities of the places they have visited. They want to come and feel immersed in the reality of the destination where they are. That is why we see there is increased demand in for example, community interactions, cultural experiences, which we have in plenty in Uganda, because as a country, Uganda is culturally diverse. We are currently the third most diverse country in the world and the most diverse. So this gives us competitive advantage to itinerize around cultural experiences so that when people come to Uganda, they get authentic local culture experiences that help them feel a part of the community where they have come and visited. Last but not least, I want to talk about responsible and sustainable positioning. In the face of COVID, we've seen a growing niche of green consumers. Consumers that demand for environmentally ethical travel options, people that are very conscious about their contribution to carbon emission. Therefore, they demand that in the face of the pandemic, destinations like Uganda minimize their social, economic, and environmental impact. We've seen a shift in demand of travelers preferring to travel using electric trains as opposed to long-haul flights, which cause a lot of carbon emission. So as destinations, we have to innovate towards positioning ourselves as a responsible destination in terms of responsible tourism, making sure that we have a very good conservation policy that basically positions us as an eco-tourism and eco-friendly destination. Green tourism, like I've mentioned, is on the rise. People are looking for destinations that are offering responsible experiences. Travelers don't want to come to Uganda when you're using plastic bags, when you're using bottled water. So it's very important that as a destination, we reinvent ourselves and start to operate in a more sustainable and responsible manner. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Claire. I think that was quite elaborate, quite insightful. We've really gotten a broad offer on where we are going as a sector, and I think it helps everyone out there, especially in the private sector, to prepare, to reposition themselves as we move into this post-COVID era and compete better on the global market. Allow me, first of all, to pose a question relating to the trend that we're having currently. And that is the trend of the virtual tourism that is coming on board. These days, many of the workshops or conventions are on Zoom. Recently, the Global Climate Summit hosted by the United States President was on Zoom, or it was virtual, so to speak. Isn't this going to affect travel? Will we have people coming down to the country? How are we repositioning ourselves in light of this problem or this emerging trend of virtual experiences?
Thank you, Director Aliazi. And actually, that is the emerging trend I talked about. called workations. It is not true. I think it is just a misconception that just because I'm having a Zoom meeting, I should have it in my bedroom or in my home. So like Booking.com predicted, there is increasing demand for workations. People will be working on Zoom, but they will want to work on Zoom away from home, away from their countries. So as Uganda, we just have to come up with packages that allow for people to come and work in Uganda. For example, someone can leave their country and come to Uganda to attend a Zoom meeting from the Sheraton or from our national park. So we need to come up with experiences that can allow for people to work away virtually. It is virtual working, but from a tourism destination like Uganda. So we just need to work with the private sector to innovate around that space and come up with workation experiences that can be promoted.
That's an interesting dimension, and I believe the tour operators out there and the destination managers out there are going to take advantage of that proposition of work vacations, where you can come, do your work on Zoom, do your work digitally, but in a wonderful destination, so to speak. It is the way forward, and we need to start promoting using that angle. I want to come to Alan, and it is on the issue of the cost of travel. Domestic tourism is a growing trend, but behind the scenes, the key constraints have been the cost of travel and the cost of accommodation. How is the private sector gearing itself up to make sure that these come low and more Ugandans can, benefit or take advantage of these opportunities?
Well, thank you very much. You may just help me and allow me a few more minutes to explain what's happening.
You have the minutes.
All right. Number one, I feel the way we are moving, both the public or the government and the private sector, is really in the same direction. I like what you've just mentioned of we need to do this, we need to do the other, we need to prepare ourselves for these new realities. And indeed we are. Thanks to our partner, that is the direction, the MasterCard Foundation, that is the direction we are moving. Let me put two things before I go into the cost of hotels and the likes. First and foremost, we with our partner at MasterCard Foundation are working towards employing over 3 million Ugandans in 10 years. We have begun with a pilot project of 300,000 in the next 5 years to tease out where we can go and then accelerate it. One of the sectors we are targeting is the tourism sector. And in the tourism and hospitality sector, we are working with the giants of the sector. And what are we saying? We are working with them to ensure that the giants pull the small ones along. For example, in the tourism sector, you may decide to pick a giant like the Sheraton Hotel and ask it to look at the whole entire value chain and then try to create jobs around that entire value chain by having a demand-driven approach. So that is one thing we are co-creating together with the MasterCard Foundation, and the project is called Enhancing the Lead Farm Structure for Youth Employment. So that is that project. But for us at the COVID-19 Economic Recovery and Resilience Response Program, allow me to dig in a little bit deeper as I touch those aspects of reduction of costs. We are very much aware of what has happened. When you say that tourists have dropped from 1.6 million to 40,000, it leaves you with one automatic customer, the domestic one. So, before I come to actually what we have done, let me say, one thing we have done is improved marketing. And here, what are we doing? We are setting up a digital platform for the entire tourism sector to showcase the various services and products. And this project is being launched next month, together with Uganda Tourism Association. We are doing two. We're not as well facilitated as the Uganda Tourism Board, I should say. But we are the private sector, and we are the apex of innovation. So we will innovate as much as we can. We are doing two promotional videos to showcase the cultural aspects of Uganda, as well as the adventure aspects of Uganda. On top of that, we are developing a digital marketing tool and channels for specific firms that are in the promotion of domestic and international tourism. We're doing 4 radio ads to promote domestic tourism. This is all under marketing, and we are doing 2 outreach programs. The UTB is having to Lamblay and now take on the PAL. We're going to do an outreach program to all our CEOs and and discuss with them on how to make the staff more aware of the domestic tourism. I think it's a good take. And then we are going to conduct 6 domestic tourism and familiarization trips. Now, allow me to put some meat on this. We are going to work with the CEOs to sensitize them about Uganda. Naturally, we may not be the experts, but the UTA, UTB, we are working together to ensure that we can sensitize Ugandans about Uganda. Are we stopping there? No. We are going to organize and support 2,200 Ugandans on discounted, you call them trips, or what are they called? The different location trips you're going to do. And we are supporting 2,200 on discounted trips. We are putting in place trips worth 1 million, 3-day trips, and that's about $300. And for every CEO who can support staff with $100 each, we are requesting the staff to put in $100. We will foot the other $100. So we will support 2,200 Ugandans in that direction. And what is this going to do? Put money directly into the hands of the tourism and hospitality sector. Not try to play around here and there. This is real money going to real companies. All the entire value chain. And that's one big one we are working together with the Tourism Association. But we are moving away also from that, and we're going into the improved product development, of which we're doing the domestic trails. But also, what about the cultural trails you have just mentioned? What about the religious trails? Uganda is so beautiful. We have all these things which someone said we are just gifted by nature. I mean, you have the Mata Shrine, you have the Baha'i temples, you have all these cultural and religious places. You just have to package them properly. And let first and foremost the Ugandans go on tour as we await our international colleagues to come and join us. So we are doing that. The report says we host at least 25% of the world bird species. Where is the book that someone can open and say, oh, I'm going to Uganda and I want to see 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are going to participate in the making of that book and ensure that the world knows the birds that are in Uganda. We are going to do a 3-day exhibition tour focusing on culture and arts exhibition. That is in product development. What about in the supply chain? We want to well-organized events for lodges, communities, tours, and travel MSMEs. We want to conduct 10 crafts producing groups, technology-supported production. We want to do also 10 producing and selling groups to connect to tour companies and hotels. We want to move away also to alternative routes to the market. And here, we want, just as what you have done with Powate, beautiful. I've been listening in, eavesdropping in for the days we have been here. We want to help and promote another 4 of such digital virtual tourism exhibitions and develop one update sales digital portal to help market the crafts of Uganda. We produce all these good crafts, but we never get to sell them at international level. And then, allow me to jump to institutional capacity, as I said, yes. We are going to help our associations to develop faster by strategic plans. Now, to the cost of coming to hotels and the cost of touring. Our members will tell you that touring has been expensive because we had opted for the more expensive ways of travel. Using 4x4s of the nature, these are quite expensive gadgets to use. So we are liaising with them and say, oh, what about if we used our coasters? Would it not make things cheaper? And they're already saying yes. Now, what about for our hotel owners and hotel entrepreneurs? I worked in the hotel business for 10 years, close to 10 years. And we have been in liaison with our hotels and asking them the fundamental question. Would you rather have 100 rooms empty? Or would you rather cover your overheads and have 60 of them occupied? Now that conversation is taking place, and what we are going to see following on, the costs are going to go much lower so that they not only be able to cover the overheads, but also, if you have never toured, you won't know what happens. But once you've begun touring, you're the one who passes over the message that, you may want to visit this hotel. You may want to visit this park. And so that is the trick we're using. And so that is the challenge we are moving. And lastly, we are going to do skilling, both of the hotel staff and the hotel management, to ensure we can tackle the issue of costs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan. I think you gave us a very good and broad outreach on whatever the Private Sector Foundation has put across in re-engaging with the private sector and supporting it to grow business. But more importantly, you've also touched on how best we can reduce the cost of travel, how best we can reduce the cost of accommodation. We also look at things like being flexible on our menus, being flexible on our offers in order to accommodate the demand deficit or raise the demand in the market. Like you rightly put it, it's not good to have 100 rooms empty when you can make a few small adjustments and have 60 of them full. I think this is a message that needs to go out to our private sector, especially those in the hospitality industry, to ensure that we can grow business and be a little more flexible about it. Claire, I want to come back to you again on our digital innovations. One of the problems we are having within the digital space is that a few fraudulent operators have taken advantage. They post very nice photos, they post very nice offers, and when we reach, or when the consumer visitor gets to this place, he's disappointed. Uganda Tourism Board has a role to play in ensuring quality of service. What measures are there to ensure that the private sector or fraudulent private sector do not take advantage of unsuspecting visitors?
Thank you, Director Aliazi, for that question. Like I mentioned, in the purview of our mandate is the quality assurance management function. So under that function, we are working very closely with the tourism police. We are working very closely with the district tourism officers to have feelers on the ground to track any fraudulent acts so that they are all dealt with. It is mainly managed through the quality assurance department, and also you're working with the tourism police to make sure that if we get hold of any fraudulent operators in the business, we deal with them accordingly in line with the law. But also, most importantly, as regulators, we are trying to ensure that all the people that are operating in our sector are registered by the Uganda Tourism Board. and we have a stringent criteria for registration to make sure that all the people that are operating in our sector meet a certain minimum standards of operation, so that they can be able to match worldwide standards in terms of to operation, but also to make sure that we don't have any quack operators. So we have a big team that we are working with. We're also working with Kampala City Authority, different authorities across the country, to make sure that we on the ground to get market intelligence about any fraudulent operations in the country, and also to make sure that no one operates in Uganda if they are not registered and licensed by UTB to operate.
Thank you so much for that clarification. And I think out there to the private sector, and we need also co-regulation to make sure that everyone polices the other, and we maintain the standards of the destination. A few people should not spoil the entire product offering. Claire, I still want to get back to you from a question posed by one of our people online, and specifically Omgisha Raphael, saying, when all these emerging trends are adopted, where are the jobs? And we're going to lose the jobs. How will the tour guides move if the apps can do the job? Where are the jobs?
Of course, there's going to be a bit of job loss, but then you see, with every loss, there's going to be another opportunity created everywhere. With more visitors coming into the country, that means we are going to set up more facilities, we are going to set up more, there's going to be more jobs created in other places. So it is not true that everything is going to become automated automatically. There's going to be more opportunity, because if you're getting 4 million visitors, of course they will need more taxi drivers, they will need, they will use more telecom services, because tourism is a very cross-cutting sector. So even if you're not employed directly in tourism, that means MNOs like telecoms are going to need to employ more people, because they have more demand for their services, more demand for food, more demand for all sorts of services, because of the demand that is going to be created within tourism. So maybe some aspects that are going to be automated may lose human jobs, but there's going to be jobs created elsewhere across the chain.
Thank you so much for that one, and I think it gives some relief to our colleague who has just been calling in. But also, we need to reskill ourselves. You cannot remain the same as you left college. You need to get new skills and adopt new technologies and move with the times. And that is how we'll remain ahead of the competitive curve. Alan, we have a question from Albert Semakula, and he's asking, how can PSFU help those who want to develop agro-tourism with agro-equipments on loan at low interest rates?
Thank you very much. Agro tools and at low interest rates. So what we have been doing is we are liaising with Uganda Development Bank. That is first and foremost. Because the issue is, how do you support a sector which is a little bit different from other sectors? The goods produced from agriculture are not daily. So it's not a daily item that you produce today, 2 bunches or whatever. It's a process which takes place. So in our liaison with the Uganda Development Bank, we have been in negotiations and trying to ensure that the structuring of the agricultural loans, be them for tools, be them for seeds, be them for the development, are structured differently. And I think the Uganda Development Bank is already moving in that direction. But that's one. We are also for the firms we are working with together with the MasterCard Foundation, we are chipping in small amounts for tools. But again, for those companies we are working with, we are trying to create a system in which bigger companies can actually guarantee the smaller ones to get loans to get those items at a cheaper rate. So the challenge is, for a banker, where is the security? The market for the small companies is the big companies. So If we can get the big companies to link up with the small companies and guarantee that the small companies have the market, then the two can, together with our guarantee on the other side, can enter a bank and be able to get loans at a lower interest rate. That has been a challenge for the financial system, especially in the area of agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan. And I'm sure our team there will be advising me when our colleague online will come on board to enrich ours as well. But Claire, we have a question from Kiza Alexander. He's saying celebrities like Jay-Z, Kim Kardashian, Akon have been to this country. Do you think they have an impact on the promotion of Uganda as a tourism hub? Does their visit help Uganda in any way positively? What do you have to say?
Yes, definitely. When you get visitors, especially celebrities coming into the country, of course, these are big brands, so they help to enhance the visibility of our destination. I can give an example of Kanye West. When he came and he only said that Uganda is not a country, it is a paradise. That was a very, very, very powerful statement. It changed the narrative around the perception around Uganda amongst his following. So yes, it is very true that those stars, they can be used to promote the destination. You've seen us this month working with Khalid from the UAE, who came here to be a part of the wedding of one of his house help. We took him gorilla tracking to Windy, and that caused a lot of conversation around our positioning as the go-to destination for gorilla tracking. So we are working with so many celebrities because, they have big followings, and also they are people that can influence action, like travel. If Beyonce says visit Uganda, of course, every Beyonce fan is going to start considering coming to Uganda. So we're also working with local celebrities. We have appointed local celebrities like Eddie Kenzo, who has a very, very big following, especially amongst the youngsters regionally, across Africa and also in Europe. So when you work with such a person, and they go around telling the positive story about Uganda, showcasing our tourism proposition, definitely they will contribute enormously to arrivals into the country.
Thank you so much, Claire. And yes, these offer a very big following and opportunities for engagement. And I think it is the way forward in ways of marketing less expensively, but also reaching out to very good audiences. Alan, I want to quiz you on the issue of labor. Many people have lost jobs. Many people have lost jobs. Many people have been laid redundant during this COVID period. How is the Private Sector Foundation, and what are your thoughts on how we are going to recover these jobs, and how are we cushioning those who are affected in this era? Thank you.
Wow, beautiful question and brilliant in nature. The fact is, without jobs, our economy cannot really survive for long. There is a particular country which uses a very long word, which I'll translate into English later on. The word is called Arbeitsbeschaffungsmaßnahmen. It's a very long word, but it literally means policies that help create jobs. It is the one thing that transforms a country. Uganda has the 75% of our 42 million people with 35 years and below. Wow. So, we at the Private Sector Foundation have already mentioned what we are doing with the MasterCard Foundation in the jobs arena, with the enhancing the lead farm structure project for youth employment. We are working in 6 sectors to ensure that we are creating jobs in the different 6 sectors. Tourism is one of them. Manufacturing is another. Agriculture is another. Construction is another. Trade and allied services is another. These are areas we are pushing to create value chains. You see, the term is value chains and circular economy. How do I ensure goods move to the top and come back down to the common man? If we can create a circular economy, the jobs are always created along those paths. And that is what we are doing with enhancing the lead farm structure. In the COVID arena, what we have done is to try and infuse money into the sector. We do think that if we can get the urban population of Kampala, 10% of it to go on tour, your domestic tourism will have been boosted. If you say you have a daily population of Kampala of 4 million and just get 400,000 to go on tour, you will have an inflation in these places. And then the ripple effect is quite enormous. And as you do the ripple effect, you create jobs along those value chains, and the surprise thing is this. It creates a ripple effect in another sector. So that is what our focus is, especially at the Private Sector Foundation. We are very cognizant of this fact, and we are moving in this area. One thing we are also requesting for, just as my colleague from UTB has mentioned, let's push for formalization of our companies. However, let us be very cognizant of one fact. If formalization is equivalent to taxation, we are not going to achieve. We should be able to separate. Let us get companies formalized. Let us get companies moving before we begin to tax them. Let us understand what's happening. We are the most entrepreneurial country on earth. How come all our companies are failing after 2 years? Let us understand that. And the private sector is at the front line of trying to understand that. And one of the things we have found out, in our country, we have managed to do that, which is formalization being equal to taxation. And once you have talked about the mindset change, and the mindset, once we don't get the mindset change to show that formalization is not exactly equal to taxation, we will get companies formalized, companies will employ, companies will move. And then, yes, we'll get more taxes at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that elaboration as well. We had a question from Idrissa Kakembo talking about what measures government is taking to strengthen investment in ecotourism. I think especially working with key institutions like the Uganda Wildlife Authority and the National Forest Authority, who manage protected areas, we've provided opportunities for people to start small projects within these spaces that are related to ecotourism. Ecotourism, really, we are talking about environmental concern and enterprises that have strong environmental concern and sustainability at the core of it. There are a number of projects supporting communities living around the protected areas to sustainably utilize the resources within the protected areas, but also tap into the tourist traffic that may have come to take advantage or see the wildlife, and thereafter come and see a bit of the culture, a bit of the ways of life. These are some of the things being taken. Of course, there are quite a number of interventions with our development partners, with organizations like Private Sector Foundation. We are doing more in moving into sustainable tourism. There was also a question on how UDB can lower these conditionalities relating to access to finance. Access to finance is always a tricky issue because you need to ensure that the person is able to pay back, has the capacity to pay back, has a very credible business proposal that are put forward. And I think one of the things that we're doing is, together with the development bankers, is supporting the private sector to prepare bankable proposals, ensuring that the proposition or business proposition they are putting across can stand the test of time. We need to measure our appetites to ensure that what we engage in does not trail us off financially. But also, we are engaging with UDB to ensure that is possible. I see from the screen that one of our colleagues, Nicholas Burundi from the United Nations Development Program, has joined us. Nicholas, you're welcome. Nicholas, the debate is going on, talking about what opportunities we have, what incentives and policies we are putting across to manage the tourism sector in the post-COVID era, moving us into the post-COVID era as strong and competitive destination. I know that the development partners are doing a lot in supporting us in this process, and UNDP being the lead of these development partners, you definitely have insights in how best to address this problem and what the development partners are doing in helping us in this journey. You're welcome, and please share your insights.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aliazi, that warm introduction. Yes, indeed, as development partners, we, and there are a number of us, by the way, supporting the tourism industry, we are supporting national efforts to catalyze recovery of the tourism industry from the impact of COVID and to build forward better. In partnership with the Ministry of Tourism and Uganda Tourism Board, we have, for instance, developed advocacy materials intended to promote Uganda as a mountaineering destination. In this, we worked with Joshua Chiptigay and a company called Talent Africa to develop a Rwenzori mountaineering experience that we feel will put Uganda on the scene when it comes to mountaineering, and also promote Uganda as a mountaineering destination. In addition to that, we have also established what we like to term as a Take on the PAL Tourism Innovation Challenge, intended to support enterprises in piloting and or scaling up business solutions as a mechanism to recover from the impact of COVID. In this particular case, we're using the acronym PAL to refer to private sector-led, effective and feasible solution, additionality from a development donor perspective, and addressing COVID recovery and resilience, as well as improving livelihood. Under the PAL Tourism Innovation Challenge, we have to date given up matching grants of up to about $500,000 US, intended to support tourism MSMEs to recover from the impact of COVID. In addition to that, we have recently developed a $2 million innovative pilot project intended to harness culture, nature, and digital technology to stimulate the recovery tourism and build a resilient tourism industry in Uganda. The project will support national efforts to recover the tourism sector through greener and risk-informed development pathways, and contribute to the creation of green jobs for youth, women, and men to build resilient lives during and after COVID. It will also avail a stimulus financing package for green investment and recovery of MSMEs, and support strategic policy orientation towards inclusive green recovery and risk-informed development. But it is not only UNDP that is in this space. We, as the lead of the Tourism Donor Partner Group, we are also working with entities such as European Union, GIZ, and a number of other entities to see how best, as development partners, we can support recovery of the tourism industry. Over to you, Mr. Aliazi.
Thank you so much, Nicholas, for giving us a flair of what the development partners are helping us with. I hope you're still on. We wanted to raise a question or two to dig further into this discussion. And one of the key issues here is that development partners have always given catalytic support, helped the destination, or helped the actors to come out of the trench. But at times, some of these initiatives require a longer haul kind of sustenance so that you allow them to grow and mature into self-sustaining programs. We wanted to seek your assurance, first of all, that development partners are with us for the long haul. Secondly, in terms of sharing best practices, learning from the best, how are you helping us to see what is being done elsewhere and bringing these best practices to bear in our local setting? And finally, on generating new knowledge in terms of research, your thoughts on those dimensions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liazi, for those questions. I would like to start by reaffirming development partners' commitment to support recovery of the tourism industry in Uganda, especially as the UNDP is the chair of this group and co-chair this with the European Union, and we are in this for the long haul. That you can be assured. Even some of the initiatives that we are undertaking as UNDP, including this pilot initiative, is intended to try out some of the best practices that we have picked from other countries and pilot them and see how we can contextualize them for Uganda. Based on that, we can then develop a much longer term project. But Mr. Liazi, I need to inform you and the viewers and the listeners that we have that at least as far as UNDP, we have been supporting the tourism sector since 2011. Where we supported the government of Uganda to review and update the tourism policy 2015, which sets the broader vision for how the tourism is going to develop this country. We also supported government of Uganda to develop the tourism master plan, the 10-year master plan that describes in detail what kind of actions that government is going to take to translate the broader vision into strategic intervention. We also supported the government of Uganda to develop about 10 to 12 regulations intended to operationalize the Tourism Act 2015. And we have also been engaged in a number of institutional capacity building interventions intended to strengthen agencies and business support associations within the tourism industry. For instance, we did support Uganda Tourism Board to develop 2 of its strategic plans. We have also supported Uganda Wildlife Education Center to support, to develop a strategic plan, as well as the Uganda Tourism Association, Association of Tour Operators, and Uganda Safari Guides Association, also to develop documents that will provide a framework for their growth over the next 5 years. We have also been working a number of communities at the downstream level to see how best we can empower them to benefit from the tourism value chain. Some of the things we have done most recently include building an eco lodge in Karenga, that's within the Kidepo Savannah. And the idea is to have a lodge that that is owned by the community but managed by the private sector, such that we can have some sort of PPP that pushes, that enables the community to gain the skills they need to develop themselves, while at the same time also having a stake or ownership in the tourism industry through the current. So that's the kind of initiative that we are pushing. And also relates to the best practices that we're picking from different countries across the globe to see how best we can support Uganda by contextualizing these best practices. In terms of generation of knowledge, we have supported the government of Uganda and the tourism industry in general to undertake a number of studies intended to bring to the fore new knowledge on MICE, for instance, the tourism industry. MICE here stands for meetings, events, conferences, and incentives. We have also done a study on understanding what does the domestic tourism look like, and how best can we harness domestic tourism for sustenance of the tourism industry within this COVID period. We have also undertaken a number of studies on understanding the human resource constraints that the country faces when it comes to tourism, and also worked on how we can communicate regarding tourism, especially through communication strategy that supports the whole tourism industry as an entity. So those are some of the things that we've been doing when it comes to generation. Late last year or mid last year, we did undertake a study on the impact, the socioeconomic impact of COVID on the tourism industry in Uganda. And some of the figures there have been are quite alarming, but they have informed some of the decisions DP and other development partners have taken to support recovery efforts within the tourism industry. Over to you, Mr. Liazi.
Thank you so much, Nicholas, for that elaborate view and discussion of the interventions undertaken by the development partners. And indeed, you've helped the industry, especially in the generation of new knowledge, in the sharing of best practices, but also in catalyzing some of the initiatives and leading them to grow sustainably. We'll definitely come back to you if time allows, but allow me to first of all get back to Claire. Claire, we did talk about responsible tourism as a new trend. Responsible tourism, and in this particular case, the coin word is green tourism. And sometimes the initiatives being done in the name of green tourism at times equate to bad experiences. Some people have come up with the word greenwashing, that enterprises have this tendency of giving you a cheap alternative and address it as green. How are we sensitizing our enterprises, but also regulating them to offer qualitative services without naming them, offering green services, but with good quality? I think that's the best way I should put it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Liazi. It is not true that green tourism equates to below-the-belt experiences. I've also seen it in some hotels where you go and you can't find hot water in the hotel. You shower very, very cold water, and they say, you know, we are green, we don't want to use electricity. So that is not very true. You have to make sure that green tourism under green tourism, you still offer good experiences to the traveler. It is also very important to understand the people that you're targeting, understand what green experiences mean to them. That is why we have to make sure that you conduct a lot of ample research to understand what are the expectations under green tourism? What sort of experiences are people looking for under green tourism? You do your homework, do some research, and find out what are the destinations that have positioned themselves as green destinations, and what are some of the experiences, what are some of the itineraries, so that you benchmark against best practices, and you don't just concoct and introduce your new things that are really maybe even not acceptable, calling them green practices. Because it's also very important that much as you're going green, you continue to offer an amazing experience to your traveler. So the green offers have to be demand driven. They have to be well researched to make sure that they're in line with the customer tastes and preferences. I think that is what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much for enlightening us in that dimension. And I think it's worth putting it to our private sector out there that yes, green is the trend to go, but quality remains a hallmark as we move the green way. We hope that at some point in time, we'll be able to put up a green certification program so that we are able to measure and ensure that what you're offering meets up to the standard. I want to move to Alan on the issue of training. Many of the private sector enterprises at times look at training as a cost rather than an investment. Training is supposed to build that capacity, is supposed to enhance your competitiveness, but many of the private sector, unfortunately, wouldn't like to invest in these training programs for fear that maybe labor mobility, for fear of tampering with their bottom line. What advice and how are you supporting the private sector to emphasize training?
Well, thank you very much. I will tap into the training aspect as well as the fraudulency in some of these places, and as well as the green aspect you've just talked about, because they're all nearly the same thing, cost. So what we are trying to do is, number one, is we are encouraging the entire private sector to be part of an association. It helps when you're talking about regulation. When UTB, as the regulator of the sector, comes to your entity and the entity is associated, for example, with Tugata, with a member association which is already registered with UTB, the regulation becomes much easier. In other sectors, it has worked tremendously. In the manufacturing sector, you very much know that there is a very strong relationship between Uganda National Bureau of Standards and the Uganda Manufacturers Association. And that is the kind of relationship we are trying to build across the whole entire private sector. Regulator, government regulator, with the apex body of a particular sector. It eases regulation. That's number one. And number two, it helps wipe out these fraudulent acts. Now, come to training. You see, this is more of a regulation thing than actually a cost thing. You have already tapped on it. If I train my staff, and at least from my past experience, I would say I am an uncertified hotel staff. Because of my being in the hotel sector for 10 years, training and certification has a huge impact on the services being offered. But if one private sector or entity trains and another doesn't train, what happens? There is migration of labor. We are in liaison, especially with government, to ensure that there are standards for you to work in an entity. There has to be a certificate for you to come up and say, I'm working in F&B. I am working in the kitchen. Are you a trained cook? Or are you trying to make ends meet? So these are the things we're trying to work and ensure that once we are done that, the training is easy. But what are we doing right now? We are ensuring that we are helping the private sector to get their staff and people trained at sometimes no cost. For example, in the skills development facility at the private sector foundation, you are hearing it. It's a skills development facility. It has a huge training component in it. And this is some little bit of cost sharing embedded in there. In the enhancing the lead farm structure, there is a huge training component in it, and this time the whole component of training is being taken on by the private sector foundation. So it is even in the COVID economic recovery and resilience programs. We are trying to help our members deal with the training aspect because it's a cost aspect. So that is how we are trying to deal with it. And lastly, I like to inform us all, this issue of coining up words, green this and green that, it is very crucial that before we institute it back home, we go and actually see what is this thing in the originating place. If you're saying green tourism, what does it actually mean? Making me shower cold water in Kisoro or Kabare is not green at all. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. Yes, at times green experiences are a bit uncomfortable. So we really need to understand this green concept and sculpt it in the realms of quality. Marketing manager, I have a question here of how are small hotels with 12 rooms and below going to benefit from the government push in tourism to enable them grow during this time, since most of the tourists are taken by the bigger brands. Is there any way of marketing small brands that are cheaper at a cheaper cost, discounted figures, or even free market platforms, especially in MICE or HOA, or membership fees are supposed to be paid at all? This is coming from Jorita Betty.
Thank you, Betty, for that question. I personally actually feel that small players right now have better competitive advantage over the big players because they are operating under minimal operational costs. Like she's mentioned already, as a small operator, you're able to run your facility at discounted rates. I think what the operators also need to do as, you don't wait for UTB to come up with a promotional strategy for you. Even you as the owner of the facility, you have to look at your facility and see, conduct a proper SWOT analysis and see what are the strengths of my facility, what are the opportunities that are available for me in my current status quo, and what is that target market that can resonate with my current offering. I think that is something that people don't do. So you find someone who cannot really trade in the American market wanting to go for an expo in the US or waiting to go for WTM. So I think it's very important to conduct a proper situation analysis and audit to see what are your strengths, where can you, what are the markets whose needs you can best meet at the moment. If you're best placed to meet domestic travel needs, then position yourself as a go-to destination for domestic travelers. And even under domestic travelers, you have to identify what segment under domestic travelers I am a best, a best match for. Is it the corporate? Is it the families? Is it the group traveler? Or is it couples? So that you work on your offering to meet the needs of those people, and then also work on your communication mix to position yourself to attract arrivals from that market that you can resonate with. Otherwise, you find a facility, like I said, an American traveler demands epic experiences. You find someone positioning themselves to say, for me, I don't want Ugandans, I want to bring in Americans because I've heard they spend a lot. One American will spend $3,000 every day. But then you don't go ahead to analyze your offering. Do you have the potential to actually host that traveler? Do you offer that kind of experience that they are looking for? So I think it boils down to research and also understanding exactly what are your strengths at the moment and where can you trade competitively in your current situation.
Thank you so much, and I hope that has been good guidance to those in the small startups. Time is not really on our side. I just want to pose two questions and we move into the closing remarks. But PSFU Lucy Katebire says, what plans does PSFU have to help tour operators to recover? Most of us are doing badly. We need a rescue so that we can continue selling our beautiful country, Uganda, worldwide. Lucy is very concerned.
Thank you very much. I've already mentioned how we're helping in that program called the COVID-19 Economic Recovery and Resilience Response Program. We have come to a realization that in times of crisis that we are in, it is better to cooperate than to compete. And that is why we have put forth that Lucy, it was, to be in touch with our partners at Uganda Tourism Association and find out exactly how her entity is going to benefit in this. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Alan. Claire, a friend of mine has land with the trees and a king of forest with apes. There are apes in this forest. How can UTB help this guy develop such a rural potential site for a startup? John Mbonye is asking.
Thank you, John Mbonye. Again, one of the functions under our mandate is product development. I would advise John's friend to come by UTB so that we have a thorough discussion of his place. We would also have to come and conduct a site visit to see where is it located and advise development opportunities and investment opportunities of how he can enhance that site to turn it into a tourism site. So let that person come to our offices at Lugogo House. We're on the 6th and 5th floor, so that we have a further discussion on what we can do together with you to turn that place into a tourism site.
John, you've heard it all. Please do come by the UTB offices and receive that support. There are experts there who can help you transform this product into something really good. Time is really not on our side, and the chat room is quite active. We may have to bring it to some level of closure, but well knowing that many of these questions have been taken to call and some will be responded to subsequently in the chat room and further discussions. But I want to get your parting shots, Alan, in this brilliant discussion.
Thank you very much. My parting shots are more of a positive echo. We might be down, but we are not out. Yes, we have suffered in 2020, but it's now 2021. The vaccines are on their way, the tests are on their way, the cures on their way. We have Ugandans around here, and we have our international partners coming soon. Let me say one thing. We cannot get ourselves locked up in our houses forever. Sooner or later, we are going to have to go and visit these places. And our international partners and colleagues know that, and we also know it. So to our colleagues on the ground doing this tremendous work, be ye of good faith and hope. Prepare ourselves, let's prepare ourselves, for the flood is coming. And this time when they come, they should come and find us ready. Because they have taken 1.5 years in their lockers, and they need to take a breath. And they are coming to the Pearl of Africa. Let's prepare ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan. Claire, definitely we received a very big hit from 1.6 million coming down to 450,000. That was really bad. We hope to really get back and move to higher levels as we had planned. What are your parting shots in this?
Thank you, Director. My shot would be to all our fellow tourism players in the sector. We are operating in the new normal, and this calls for either adapting or perishing as a destination or as individual players. This calls for a lot of mindset change. We really need to get our sector players to be very adaptable. We've had people that have refused to embrace domestic tourism, even when they see their colleagues reaping big from domestic tourism, saying, for me, my market is the Canadian market. Even when it's in the lockdown, I'll wait for it to come back and then I'll start trading. Because you're not so sure when this market is going to come back, you really need to rethink your strategy. We've been sharing a lot of information at Powate. We have our MDRs, the market destination representative firms that we've hired in the different source markets, sharing a lot of insightful information about how to trade in the different markets. You cannot say that pre-COVID, for me, I was focusing on this market, and I'll continue to focus on that market, come rain, come shine. It calls for reinventing your business. It calls for rethinking your business model. So make sure that you get all this information. Find out, yes, you could have been in the American market, but if there are opportunities, new opportunities in the Chinese market, please embrace it. If there is opportunity in the domestic market, please find a way of positioning yourself to tap into the new potential in that market. Because if there is anything that we've learned from COVID, it is the danger of putting all our eggs in one basket. Like we said as the tourism board, our focus, 90% reliant pre-COVID was on the international markets. But we've learned to do better in the face of the pandemic. We are now aggressively pursuing domestic tourism, and we've reaped the benefits. All our destinations are full of Ugandans every weekend going to the different destinations, which we had never thought about. So if us as the tourism board can rethink our strategy, how about you as a tour operator? How about you as a facility? If Ugandans are saying, for me, the only thing hampering me from coming to sleep at the Sheraton is because you charge me in dollars, charge in Ugandan shillings. So we have to be flexible, let us be adaptable, and like I said, if you do not adapt, you're going to perish. I can give an example of poverty. When we were pushing participation in virtual poverty, many people said, no, for me, virtual things are not for me. But I've taken you through the trends. The world has gone virtual. Those are the emerging trends. So you either adapt or perish. And like the people that took advantage of this platform have been exposed to over 450 quality hosted buyers. So you're interfacing with people that can potentially become your business partners in China, in Ireland, in the US. We've never had such an opportunity. And we do not even have the resources to host 450 buyers physically in Uganda. So when an opportunity comes to you, grab it by the horn, try to see what you can do as an institution. As the tourism board, we are there to handhold you, support you in whatever way possible. And also, like I said, work on enhancing your digital performance as a hotel owner, as a tour operator, so that you work on your personal visibility while also UTB works on promoting you as a destination. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. The message is quite clear. We are in a new normal. The Luganda saying goes that enswa wichusa amasongo chusa invubo. If the ants change the direction of they're using in the anthill, change your tapping mechanism so that you still take advantage of these things. The message is clear. That of adjust, that of optimism and hope, and we hope we'll recover right to the top. I want to thank the panelists. Alan, thank you so much for giving a very rich menu to this discussion. Claire, we always thank you so much for giving us these insights into tourism and where we are going, and I hope the private sector has generally benefited from it all. Nicholas has been online, and we want to thank you so much again for the insights that you've given us. I don't know whether you have some parting shots in this particular regard, Nicholas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liazi, for giving us this opportunity to share what we think and what we are doing with regard to tourism. I would like to say we are on the horizon, and the stars are aligned in our favor. We have not seen Uganda on any red list, and I would like to believe that we are going to continue along that trend. As we conclude, I would like to urge us all to reflect on how we can build forward better and how we can harness the power of tourism to generate quality jobs for durable growth, reduce poverty, and offer incentives for environmental conservation, which to us would be a triple win to help Uganda transition towards a more inclusive and resilient economy. I would also like to reiterate UNDP's commitment to support the government and the people of Uganda to advance sustainable development that embodies economic, social, and environmental progress and leaves no one behind. Together, I believe we can truly make Uganda the part of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Nicholas, for those parting shots. And I want once again to thank the viewers and all participants who have been very active in this discussion. I believe it has been useful, it has been enlightening, we've learned something, and we'll definitely go back and practice what we've preached and become a more competitive destination. Reach out to the very heights of it all. I remain Liazi Vivian from the Ministry of Tourism, who has been moderating this particular session. I thank you so much, and over to you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you to Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo for inviting Ukurimu to this event. My name is Laura Valentine, and I am the project lead for Ukurimu. Over the next few slides, I am going to be giving you an introduction into what Ukurimu is, where it stems from, where it comes from, and what we are hoping to achieve over the up and coming 2 years. So before I get into about what Ukurimu is trying to achieve, I'd first like to point out some of the problems that actually the hospitality and tourism industry is facing. Even before COVID-19, there was considerable high youth unemployment figures over Africa. Nearly 420 million youth were out of a job, and that includes the hospitality and tourism sector. There's also many institutions that are, yes, providing skilling and upskilling. However, when actually it comes to applying that in a workplace, many of the managers are unhappy with the current skills from graduates, basically stating they cannot apply what they have learnt, and they are too theory focused and not enough practical elements are involved in that, and also a lack of market awareness. So before I get into about what Ukurimu is trying to achieve, I'd first like to point out some of the problems that actually the hospitality and tourism industry is facing. Even before COVID-19, the second major problem is with that dreaded word COVID-19. As you are all aware, as an industry, we have been dramatically affected by COVID-19. And hopefully this will end soon, hence why we are bringing in Ukurimu now to start addressing these problems before we start seeing the bounce back of the industry. Just a few aspects that are maybe affected more than others is with regards to the gender stereotypes. The skills gap between men and women is getting even larger. There's even more safety challenges within the workplace. Staff are being underpaid. There are huge informal working arrangements when it comes to having contracts or being on unpaid leave. And this all obstructs the growth of the sector and the inclusion of young Ugandans, most especially women, when it comes to working in tourism and hospitality. And this is now something that Ukurimu is really trying to address. We would like to boost the livelihoods of young Ugandan men and women within the industry, focusing on the youth and actually focusing on women as well, to start minimizing this gap, minimizing these issues and reducing these problems as a whole. The second major problem is with that dreaded word COVID-19. As you are all aware, as an industry, we have been dramatically affected by COVID-19. So now let's have a little look about how we hope to address these issues. Ukurimu supports the bridging of the skills gap by offering relevant tourism and hospitality skilling opportunities. It helps to prepare young people in Uganda for career in the sector. As I previously mentioned, many of the training institutions now purely focus on theory, and that is one thing that Ukurimu does not do. We do not focus on theory. We focus on practical, applied, active learning, and that is what differentiates us. So now let's have a little look about how we hope to address these issues. Ukurimu supports the bridging of the skills gap by offering relevant tourism and hospitality skilling opportunities. So some of you may be saying, okay, how is this possible? How is the approach of Ukurimu any different to what we have seen before? Well, like I said, we focus on active learning. This curriculum has been developed with a focus on Africa. And most especially East Africa. It is exceptionally relevant to the private sector. Private sector partners or players have had their input within the development of the curriculum to what they also feel is necessary in passing on to young Ugandan men and women. It focuses on soft and practical skills. It is supported with videos and apps. It's not all about us as facilitators talking for hours on end. It is about interaction, role plays, scenario making. It is entirely open sourced, which means even you sat where you are now, you can go onto the Ukurimu website and you can download the curriculum completely for free. And finally, it is short and it is easy to implement. Anybody can do it. Once they've gone through our trainings, we hope that the students that have graduated will then step into the position of trainers because it is easy to understand and implement. So some of you may be saying, okay, how is this possible? How is the approach of Ukurimu any different to what we have seen before? Well, like I said, So as I previously mentioned, the curriculum has been developed by many different people within the industry to ensure that we're providing our students with the most relevant and up-to-date modules that the industry demands. We are forever growing and expanding on these, and so previously before COVID, we were sitting on 15 modules, as you can see from the diagram on the screen. However, just due to COVID, we have now increased that number up to 18. And we hope to continue adding to this over time as the industry develops and changes and adapts. We plan to do exactly the same. We do not want to develop and distribute 30 modules and basically say this is all that the industry demands, because it is not. It is such a flexible industry and it is forever changing, forever adapting with scenarios, and that is why that we will continue to develop the curriculum over time to ensure that we are being relevant and up to date and basically meeting the demand of the industry. So as I previously mentioned, the curriculum has So currently with what we have developed so far, we have one online platform. We have 18 modules, 16 supporting videos, 12 presentations, and a student's diary. But this is just the start of the development of the Ukurimu curriculum and what you can access, like I said, from the website. It is entirely open source. It is free to download. You can have access to all of these materials from the comfort of your own home. So currently, however, as a response to COVID-19, we were not able to be in the classroom interacting with our students, sadly. So as a team, we had to put our heads together to find a way to be able to still train and upskill, but by doing it remotely and in a way that obviously ensured we were adhering to SOPs. And that is where the Ukurimu app has come in. The app has been developed for self-learning. It includes activities, games, exercises, and scenarios for the student to start their journey in the training process. The app is entirely free to download. It can be accessed on the Google Play Store. We are still tweaking it to be able to download it on the Apple Store. You need Wi-Fi and data once to be able to download it. However, from there, you could be in the remotest village in Karamoja, and you will still be able to access all of the materials on the app. The app, however, does not replace the classroom-based training. Many people ask, once I have completed the app, does that mean I am a graduate of Ukurimu? No, it does not. the app is just a first stepping stone. Many people sat at home are scrolling on Instagram or scrolling on Facebook. So why not invest that time into a little bit of self-study, a little bit of self-learning, and download the app and go through this? Even you, where you are sat now as industry experts, I would encourage you all to download the app, all to have a look. Not only will it give you a good background into what the curriculum is passing across, but you never know. We are never too old to learn anything, and maybe something comes up that you didn't know yourself before. But I would highly encourage you to download it, encourage your friends, your family, your colleagues to download it, and it will give you a greater understanding on what we are trying to achieve. However, as a response to COVID-19, we were not able to be in the classroom interacting. So we have previously run 3 hospitality cycles, 2 in the Rwenzori region, which has led to the development of the Rwenzori Tourism Academy, and 1 in Karamoja, which has led to the development of the Karamoja Tourism Academy. In 2019, after the graduation of the RTA students, we are so pleased to see that 75% of them went into employment within 4 months. And many of them, which makes us even happier, have managed to retain their jobs during COVID-19. And why is that, you may ask? We pride ourselves on ensuring that our students graduate with an all-rounder approach to hospitality. They should be flexible throughout the departments, be willing, confident, and competent when it comes to working in each area. And this is exactly what hotels and lodges needed when operating on skeleton staff. As you can see from the figures above, we also have over 200 downloads. So we have previously run 3 hospitality cycles, 2 in the Rwenzori region, which has led to the development of the Rwenzori Tourism Academy, and 1 in Karamoja, which has led to the development of the Karamoja Tourism Academy. In 2019, after the graduation of the RTA students, we are so pleased to see that 75% of them went into employment within 4 months. And many of them, which makes us even happier, have managed to retain their jobs during COVID-19. And why is that, you may ask? We pride ourselves on ensuring that our students graduate with an all-rounder approach to hospitality. They should be flexible throughout the departments, be willing, confident, and competent when it comes to working in each area. And this is exactly what hotels and lodges needed when operating on skeleton staff. As you can see from the figures above, we also have over 200 downloads of the curriculum since November. This has actually gone up even further since we have started the training. A lot of industry experts have stated that our students, our graduates, are more versatile, motivated, and proactive in comparison to their peers. The images above are just some of the pictures from our previous cycles that we ran in Karamoja, just after the students had graduated from their training. The images above are just some of the pictures. Here are also just a couple of testimonials from a student that joined us in Karamoja, and also from Jean from Uganda Hotel Owners Association, who is one of our proud partners that has contributed to the curriculum, but is also really behind pushing Ukarimu forward for it to be utilized within the industry. So the student said the course was very practical. We learned the basic skills for different roles in tourism. Now I know how to communicate with clients, set a table, open bottles of wine. Within 2 weeks after graduation, I was employed. So I'm very happy that I took this course. And Jean said, we as Uganda Hotel Owners Association welcome this initiative very much, as this is what the private sector needs: short, practical, and relevant training. Here are also just a... So where is this training happening? We don't like to refer to ourselves as an academy, because as soon as you say academy, people automatically think of a physical structure or classroom that they are going to go to. We are not at that point just yet. So at the moment, we would almost refer to ourselves as a revolving training institution or academy. So with thanks to GIZ and the E4D Education for Development program, we have funding for the next 2 years to roll out Ukarimu throughout Uganda. We are going to be operating in 4 regions for when it comes to rolling out tourism skilling clusters. Now, many of you have heard about tourism clusters around Uganda. That is not us. We have developed what is called a tourism skilling cluster, or TSC, and that is to ensure the longevity of Ukarimu. These clusters are made up of coordinators, facilitators, guest lecturers, advisory members, and also private sector players, all of which we hope will continue Ukarimu on after we have even finished or after our funding has finished. So now the regions we are operating in Western region, Eastern region, Southwest, and also Central. And these will see a range of hospitality, tourism entrepreneurs, tour guides, all come through the pipeline, through the training, and will then go back into their regions and hopefully make an impact to the industry. So where is it? So I spend a lot of time talking about our hospitality training. However, we actually have 2 more pillars that we are in the process of developing full curriculums for. The one is our entrepreneurship and site guide training, and the other is our tour driver guide training. Actually, as you are seeing this presentation, I am currently kicking off our entrepreneurship training here in Kampala. And this focuses on modules such as marketing, financial management, understanding your clients, digital marketing, and much, much, much more. How to promote your business. And this is linked with Tripsio. David Gonahasa, who is the founder of Tripsio, has invested a lot of his time and his knowledge into helping us develop this curriculum. Then when it comes to our driver guide training, we'll be kicking this off in October. We are taking a new approach to this as we are only focusing on female guides. We have partnered with Matoki Tours, and they will be delivering the training using the Ukarimu tool. And as a partnership, we have decided that we would like to start seeing more female guides in the industry. This is not just a decision we have made, this is very much demand driven, and we are really excited to see where this will go. So above on the slide, you will see the structure of all of the trainings. So hospitality training is 1 month intensive classroom base with our facilitators and coordinators. They then undergo a 4-month internship. And for us, this is the most valuable moment of the training. This is when they start to apply the skills they have learnt within the classroom-based setting. After that, they will undergo their closure training and their DIT assessment. This is a similar structure to that of the training with the entrepreneurs and site guides, and also that of the tour driver guides. Everyone will be assessed, everyone will go through a stage of entrepreneurship, everyone will go through a stage of internship, all to help them apply everything they have learnt through their classroom-based setting. So I spend a lot of time talking about our hospitality. So what are our end goals for the next 2 years? We aim to train a total of 1,117 people within tourism and hospitality. 135 of those to be in hospitality. 804 of those to be trained in decent work and COVID-19 resilience. 34 driver guides, 48 tourism entrepreneurs, and 96 site guides. 126 people to access decent employment. And these can be entrants that are already in the industry, or these can be new entrants. We want to improve the employment situation of over 600 people. And we want to support entrepreneurs in enhancing their business capacity. As I have previously mentioned, we have already kicked off our hospitality training cycles. We started those just a couple of weeks ago, actually, in the Rwenzori region and the Southwest region. Now, the video on this slide is just a small teaser, let's say, into what our week looked like with kicking off those training cycles. So please feel free to have a look when you have a moment. I highly recommend it, and it will give you a really good idea as to what we are achieving with the students. As I have previously mentioned, however, we could not have done this all alone. I know you are hearing from me today. However, there are many, many people behind the scenes that sadly you don't get to meet today due to this being a virtual event. But it is with great pleasure that I can share with you all of our partners that have invested time, effort, expertise, and also money into Ukurimu to ensure that it is the best it can be. GIZ are our major funder through the E4D program, and they have provided us with funding for the next 2 years. Our implementing partners who have supported us on the development of the curriculum are Uganda Hotel Owners Association, Motoki Tours, and Tripsio. As a result from the previous training cycles, we have also developed the Karamoja Tourism Academy and the Renzori Tourism Academy. So as you can see, this is a huge network of industry experts, of a lot of knowledge, a lot of great ideas, and this is why we truly stand behind the curriculum and what it offers, because we have had so much input from so many people. We know it can only be a success. So how can you get involved? Well, there's many ways in which you can work with us. First, you can just go onto the website and download the curriculum, and also download the app on the Play Store. It is called Ukurimu Academy. Would you like to train students in relevant and hospitality tourism training? Our trainers can provide the training for your staff from start to finish, and they can even train you as well. We will hopefully be going through a training of trainers. So if you would like to use the curriculum within your hotel setting, we can help you in delivering that curriculum successfully across to your team. Finally, if you would like to help scale up the impact of Ukurimu, you can partner with us. And that means in turn you are helping support the skilling of young people all over Africa. We aim to develop more materials, more video clips, and plan to further expand the curriculum with modules on management skills, entrepreneurship, and digital marketing. So please, if you feel like you could help us in any way, please do not hesitate to get in contact with us. We are very open. We're very open to new ideas. We love collaboration, and we would love to hear from you. So how can you get involved? Well, there's many ways in which you... So there we have it. That is the end of my presentation for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening, and once again, thank you to the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo for inviting us to speak. I'm sorry that we cannot be with you in person today as much we would all like to be, but please follow us on social media, follow all of our exciting updates when it comes to training, or if you have any questions regarding the presentation, regarding the project, my email is there on the screen. Please send me an email. I'll be really happy to answer any of your questions. Once again, thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your expo.
Uganda is a fairy tale. You climb up, and at the end, there is a wonderful new world. The scenery is different. The vegetation is different. The climate is different. And most of all, the people are different from anything elsewhere to be seen in the whole range of Africa. I say, concentrate on Uganda. For magnificence, for variety of form and color, for profusion of brilliant life, bird, insect, reptile, beast, and for vast scale. Uganda is truly the pearl of Africa.
Almost welcome to Powate 2021, the first online event ever. Please, we look forward to seeing you at our booth. Please look around at all the exhibition stalls, and please come to Uganda Airlines and learn more about Uganda Airlines. Well, Uganda Airlines is the national carrier of Uganda. It was established a few years back, legally 2017, and started flying 2019. August. We had 4 planes. We started with the 4 CRJ 900 76-seaters flying within the region, and as the bombardiers, as Ugandans love to call them. And then last year in December we received our first Airbus. These are Airbus 330-800 neos. They are 258 seaters with 28 seats in premium economy, 20 seats in business, and 210 seats in economy. Our service is renowned. We have done very well on on-time performance. We always arrive on time, and sometimes we arrive even before time. So that's very good news for us. Onboard service is really great. We get very many positive reviews online and live. Our team smile very well, serve very well. Our luggage is brought on time. So we really have a very good reputation. And we want to thank Ugandans for really embracing Uganda Airlines and giving us this feedback that helps us improve all the time. The CRJs 900, we have been flying regionally. So we are flying to South Sudan, we're flying to Somalia, Mogadishu, we're flying to Nairobi and Mombasa, flying to Kilimanjaro, Dar es Salaam and Zanzibar in Tanzania. We've been flying to Bujumbura, and our latest addition was Kinshasa, DRC. We are planning to add South Africa, Johannesburg, South Africa, Lusaka, Lubumbashi, Kigali, Harare, Goma, so the future is bright. Now with the Airbus 330-800, we are going farther. We have greater connectivity, and we are going to fly starting with Dubai very soon, and then we hope to add London. After London, we'll go to Mumbai in India, and then we hope to go to Guangzhou by the end of the year. So those are the 4 major places we want to go intercontinental. Cargo in our business is normally known as the icing on the cake, or the cherry on the cake. It brings in revenue and doesn't have a lot of costs. Cargo doesn't ask for a nice seat, cargo doesn't ask for a nice Rolex. Cargo sits on the plane and you take it from point A to B. So we have started our cargo operation, which was held up a bit. With the Airbus, we intend to take 20 tons in the underbelly. That Airbus can take 258 passengers and 20 tons under. Ugandans are renowned for hospitality, and hospitality is one of the greatest values of Uganda Airlines. We urge all our dear visitors, if you come on our plane, if you come to Uganda, if you want to visit the Pearl of Africa, choose Uganda Airlines, because there you will see and feel our hospitality as Ugandans. You'll feel the integrity and honesty as staff, you see our punctuality, and you see our reliability as an airline. So please choose Uganda Airlines if you're coming to visit Uganda. COVID has hit everyone very hard, and it's not easy getting out of it, but our values have helped us cope with the situation. We have applied very strict protocols, standard operating procedures. The new world is mainly online, and we have realized that, and a lot of our business is coming, a good part of our business is coming online. We want more and more of you to look for us online. Please go to our website, www.ugandaairlines.com. Go there and look. You make your own booking if you want to, or if you prefer to use a travel partner or an agent, you can go ahead. Payment methods are available online. You can use your card. If you're abroad, we take all cards, credit and debit. So please do not hesitate to use Uganda Airlines, because we are easily reachable, we have very affordable fares, and easy to pay. Beloved clients, so far we say shukran South Sudan, shukran Mogadishu, asante sana Kenya, Tanzania, merci beaucoup Burundi and DRC. Uganda, thank you very much for the support so far. Those who are coming, who will be joining us from the world over, we shall be very glad to receive you. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup for supporting us so far. Danke schön, gracias, and we wish you a wonderful Poat.
Welcome to Uganda, the Pearl of Africa.
The Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo is an annual tourism event in the East African region organized by the Uganda Tourism Board to bring together travel agents, tour operators, hoteliers, destination managers, and other service providers in the tourism business. Poate is a unique opportunity for tourism businesses to meet new clients, network, and market their services and products.
I've been able to see 80% of the tour operators I would not have seen if I was to do door-to-door marketing.
Since we started coming in 2016, we have had an exponential increment in Ugandans coming all the way to destination Diani.
The 4th edition of Poate took place on 4th to 6th February 2020. Poate brought together the best products Uganda has to offer. Hand-picked international buyers and select travel media were invited for familiarization trips in different parts of Uganda to have a first-hand experience and promote what they know better to the rest of the world.
First experience in Africa, and it's great. It's going great.
We now reach the source of the river Nile. This is how the Nile begins officially.
I'm very fascinated. I never saw it before. That's the River Nile. It's so widespread. You can look at it for minutes, perhaps more, and just meditate on that big, huge river. It's like a small ocean.
When people like myself come out like this and showcase and show people back home that, listen here, the Uganda you have probably seen on TV is not the Uganda that I have experienced. So definitely I'm going to be creating packages around safari, around adventure holiday for the people back home.
The expo also gave participants an opportunity to grow their business and expand their knowledge base by offering 2 days business-to-business meetings, which effectively helped participants.
If we exploited the opportunities that we have as a people, I can assure you it will be fun. We need to find a time where me, the investor, is trusted, me, the entrepreneur, is trusted, and you, the investor, can be able to trust me by the long term. You're not going to invest with me to be able to get returns overnight.
I believe Africa must find a way for Africa to work with Africa. And when I say that, African Airlines with African Airlines, African tourism boards with African tourism boards, African press with African press. So we have a wholesome approach to face these difficult, challenging times that the world is facing today.
It is important that we do not lose focus as Africans.
So what Africa needs to do, for me, is to carry more of African passengers within Africa and increase the percentage of the market.
Our coming here was intended to position you as players in the industry, to position Uganda as the #1 tourist destination.
This has been a very successful event, and Uganda Tourism Board, we are promising to do it better in 2021.
a raffle. The raffle, we've put the names in a bowl, and she will announce the winner. Once again, we sincerely thank UTB for organizing Poet, and we wish everybody to keep safe, and thank you.
I'm going to just randomly pick up a name. Just open the name, a piece of paper. Ooh, and the lucky winner is Nancy Hardy. Would you like to? Also, so Alan says that Nancy Hardy wins a weekend stay for 2 at the Kampala Serena Hotel. Kindly get in touch with us. We'll just give you Madam Allen's email address. It's Allen, ALLEN dot Ampere, AMPAIR for your stay. Thank you very much. Thank you, the organizers, and have a lovely day. Bye. Great.